I want to show you how to make a pop-up birthday cake card. I actually designed this SVG file and you can get it in my shop at shamash.com. So once you go to my shop and go check out the SVG files, purchase this SVG file, download it, then go to your downloads folder and you are going to have to open the zipped folder. How to open a zipped folder is different for every device you're working with. For my computer, I can just right click and choose extract all. That then gives me another folder that doesn't have that little zipper icon, and I can actually get into it to get the SVG files. Now that you have the SVG files somewhere where you can access them, let's go back to Cricut Design Space. We're going to click Upload, then Upload Image, and then we're going to browse to the folder where we have those SVG files, where we unzipped it. You can see I have two different SVGs in here. One is for the cake card and one is for the score lines. We're going to need to upload each one of those individually because Cricut Design Space does not allow us to upload multiple SVGs at a time. So I'm going to start with the cake card score lines and just upload those. Now we'll click Upload Image, Browse, and select the birthday cake card. You can see I even included some numbers that you can use to put on top of the cake. Now I can select both of these and add them to my canvas. I am going to click on the score lines and bring those over here. Cricut Design Space is going to bring in all lines and say that the operation is actually a cut line. This is why I did my score lines separately. That way you can easily select all of them and go up to operation and just change them to score. Now they're ready to be your score lines. I am going to right click and ungroup these. Then, depending on which letters you want to use, you're going to ungroup so you can select the letters you want. I'm going to slide those over here for just a minute. I am actually going to use a pre-made white card for my design. I just brought the white card in here in case you don't have a pre-made card. So I can actually turn off that piece. But before I even do that, let's ungroup this. And I can just turn that piece off by using the eyeball over here on the layers panel. I am going to ungroup again because there are multiple areas in here that are grouped together. For right now, I don't need to work with the cake pieces or those parts that were, oh here we go, or the parts that are the little drips. I just want to see the card base and the score lines. So if I take this and select all of this and use my align to center these on top of each other, I can then use the attach button to hold the placement and position. So now the Cricut knows exactly where I want it to score. Let's turn on those different layers of the cake and arrange those to the front. And yes, it did shift things so they weren't perfectly lined up, but remember, you're going to cut this all out of cardstock, so you're going to have to put it back together in real life anyway. And let's use arrange to bring that to the front. ungroup these, and I'm just going to use the number 1 and the number 5. So all of these other numbers, I could group them so I can turn them all off. Remember, the Cricut is only going to cut what's visible on your cutting mat. So because I turned those numbers off, it's not going to cut it. And again, the white piece, I said that I'm using a pre-made card. That's it. Now when I click Make It, Design Space is going to sort everything by different colors. The white for the candles and the white for the cake might have looked like they were the same color, but they were actually slightly different. And I did that because I might want to use a more fun paper for the numbers. If you do want to cut them all out of the same white, you can move this so that they're on the same sheet. I'm just going to move that back. When you get to this page, you'll see that it is both going to score and cut. I just realized I totally forgot to show you the front of the card. So we're going to go back and do that before we go into cutting. So we're back in Design Space now, and two things happened since I recorded the first part of this video. Well, one, I forgot to show you the front of this card in Design Space, and two, I'm making the card for yet another person, and she is turning 12. So my putting together assembly video is going to show the number 12 instead of the number 15, like I said in the original video. All right, let's go to uploads, upload image, and we're going to browse to where I have this saved. And I'm going to use the Happy Birthday to You SVG. It defaults to a cut image that we will then upload, and we'll click on that and add that to our canvas. This is already set up for a 5x7 card, which is what the overall size of this card we're doing comes out to be. But I did want to explain to you what's going on with these layers. So you'll see there is a purple layer that's got the words. The pale pink layer is just a rectangle. We're going to cut that of a clear acetate or a clear film. Then there is a pink piece that is just a 5x7 rectangle. What I'm going to do is make a faux shaker card. Every time I've ever made a shaker card for people, they open it up and try to, because of the depth of the shaker element, try to peel that off and then glitter comes everywhere. So with this faux shaker card, it's glued down and it doesn't look like it's supposed to come off. You'll see in the assembly. I am going to speed up this video because cutting all of these pieces is going to take some time. And I do want to point out one thing. You might notice that I am using a Cricut Explore. And I'm not even using the Explore Air 2. I'm just using the basic original Explorer. It's only got one blade holder. That means when I switch from my blade to my scoring line, I have to switch the blade out to a scoring stylus. And you can see right there, it's not that it's hard to do, it's just an extra step that I have to do of switching out the blade and the scoring stylus. Actually, I was working with someone recently that had the Explore Air 2 and it had the dual A and B holders, and their score lines weren't lining up exactly where they wanted them. I never have that problem because the orientation of my blade, my scoring stylus, or my pen when I switch it out to a pen is the exact same spot. So this is my main machine. And I really want to emphasize you do not need the newest machine in order to make all your Cricut crafts. Take a look at my website. I have done lots of crafts with my Explorer, card making, scrapbooking, decorating clothing, tote bags. I've even engraved with this machine. So there is a ton you can do. Another thing I should point out is that I do not pay for Cricut access. I do everything that I make by using free elements in Design Space or by getting my images from other places where you can get free fonts and free SVG files. So I just like to be totally honest with people and let them know you don't have to run out and buy the newest machine just because it's new. You don't have to pay Cricut $10 a month to use their images. And for a lot of the tools that you see that I'm using, there might be a better brand out there. So shop around and find what's best for you. Don't just run to the store and buy it because it has the word Cricut on it. And if you like this honest approach that I'm giving you and being totally transparent about that kind of stuff, make sure you're following me on social media and like my videos and use my affiliate links for the products I do promote. That helps me to continue to do what I'm doing because I make a small commission when you click on and use my links. So thank you for that. Here is a little tip. This cardstock is really thick. And before I unload this, I'm actually going to take a look and see if it cut all the way through, and it didn't. So without unloading the mat, I just pressed the C button again. It's going to recut right over that first cut. This part is really important. This trick only works if you have not unloaded your Cricut cutting mat from the machine. Once everything is done cutting and you remove it all from the cutting mat, we can start to assemble our card. I am going to start with the top of the card. You'll see I have the piece with the lettering, and I'm just using my Zig glue pen to put a little line of glue around the outer edge of this kind of frame shape. I like this glue pen because I can just squeeze on it and it does a thin bead of glue, just like writing with a pen, only it's glue instead of ink. Then I just place my acetate sheet over that glue and kind of check and make sure your corners are lining up. I'm going to set that aside while I work on the rest of the card, and this is allowing that glue time to dry up. So with the main piece of the card, you're going to have some center fold lines that you're going to want to fold out. And I'm so glad I'm doing this video because it's really hard to explain how this all works. So the furthest out score lines are going to fold in. Then the ones that are in the center of the cake layers are going to fold out. The ones on the sides of the cake are going to fold in. I like to kind of put my fingers between the different sections and just kind of pinch those center pieces for where the cake is going to pop out. And then once you get it going, you can fold it in half and just kind of smooth it down. But now, once I have everything folded, you can see how the cake kind of pops up off of the center of the card. Next, I'm going to grab the pieces that are the frosting of this cake. And I'm going to set my card kind of at an angle. By setting my card this way, it kind of made those pop out pieces turn into a little ledge. And that allowed me to line up the bottom of that little ledge for placing the different layers of the cake. I just put some double-sided tape on the back of my frosting for my cake. And with the top and bottom layer, I am going to use my glue pen again and put the drips on the layer for the cake before I put it on the card. I just think it's going to be easier to do it all at once. And then I can also kind of pre-crease where that center fold will be for each layer of the cake. Because it's really important when you're placing these frosting pieces for the different layers that you're lining up those center folds and then those edge creases folds for each layer. Again, I'm coming in with some double-sided tape for the main pieces of each layer and then just pressing them down onto the little ledge that pops out. You could also do this entire project in different white papers, maybe white embossed papers, and it could look like a wedding cake. Wouldn't that be a fun wedding card? The next step I'm going to do is take the numbers for the top of the cake and I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the front of the little piece that's sticking down and just stick that to the inside back of that top tier of the cake. And yes, I had to go off screen for this a little bit because I needed to actually see it to line up the bottom. So now I can flip the entire card over and you can see those little extensions on the numbers. And I'm just going to tape them down with some clear tape to really ensure that they're adhered to the card base. Remember I said I was going to use a pre-made card? Now I can grab that and line up my center folds. It's really important that you get that center fold line to line up and that you get the pop-up part of the card to lay flat when you're doing this part because if any of it goes kind of askew when you're gluing it down, your pop-up isn't going to work. And you can see that I did put adhesive just on part of the main card where I knew the whole center fold was going to fully cover it. And then I put the glue and adhesive on the patterned paper piece so that I wasn't getting any glue or adhesive through the center where that pop out would be. Now all that's left to do is put together the front of this card. And remember I said we were going to do a faux shaker? So we're going to need some glitter. And I have this kind of confetti glitter that is in the shape of butterflies. And I just flipped my front that has the acetate on it over and sprinkled some little butterflies all over. And I'm using my finger to kind of push them around, spread them so that there's not a big clump of butterflies in one spot. And also, I don't really need the butterflies to be over the letters. I want them more in the openings. Once I have this all spread around, I'm going to come around the edge of this with some glue. Then I'm going to glue the sage green piece of cardstock down so it sandwiches that butterfly glitter between the two layers. So when this is complete, it will give the look of a shaker card with the little windows poking through and you can see the glitter, but it won't actually shake. And then there's no depth to this piece, so it's not going to stand out off the card. And it lays flatter, so you're going to be able to put this in a standard envelope. Then the last step is to just put some double-sided tape on the back of this piece and tape it on the front of your card. I love the little effect and shimmer that you get from the little glitter pieces. And then you get a surprise when you pop that card open. Before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. I love to hear from you.